Welcome to the Utility Safety and Environment Committee meeting for Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the March 6th, 2024 Utilities Committee meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Davis, second by Mr. Stewart. Are there any questions?
Question.
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the matter of the 2024 street sweeping program. Engineer McKillop, please.
Good evening. Through you, Madam Chair, this item is an annual program, street sweeping throughout the city on our streets that have curbs, and then some other streets like State Road 57, and maybe some a few other larger streets that don't have curbs. We do the street sweeping twice a year, at least we have for the past several years. Once in early summer and the second round in about the middle of fall. For this year, we are budgeting $220,000, $110 out of wastewater and $110 out of stormwater, and the funds are included in our 2024 permanent budget.
Thank you, Mrs. McKillop. Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair, Ms. McKillop. I don't know how you get priced, if it's per hour or, for the whole city, but has the price gone up or down from last year?
Well, we were on a trend of increases annually, and then last year, the price actually came down. I'm guessing that may have to do with word of another competitor trying to get work in this area. That's a good thing. But let's face it, fuel costs, dumping costs on an annual basis, we pay for about 500 to 600 tons of debris that's collected through the street sweeping and disposed of at landfill. So, yeah, costs in most cases are going up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Just a question in regards to that, the cost. Is there any benefit moving forward to be looking at getting a piece of equipment ourselves and operating that? Is that something that we would maybe look at entertaining or have, and maybe it doesn't make sense for us to do that?
We actually started looking into that. It would have been maybe 3 years ago. I believe Ms. Keys was still on council at the time, and we had several discussions about, would we want to really dive into the possibility of doing it in-house? I think it's definitely worth looking into. I mean, obviously the equipment, there's a significant cost, but when we have control of it ourselves, without having to put that onus on a third party, we can schedule it, we can do our own sweeping around the square, around the downtown area, even if it's on a weekly basis. Granted, we have a lot of lane miles in the city here, and by doing it in-house, we may still only be able to get it done in a neighborhood maybe 3 times a year, but over the long run, over years, it may be fiscally beneficial.
Worth looking into?
Yes.
To see if it makes sense.
Well, that is worth looking into. Mrs. McKillop, I noticed last year during the street sweeping, there were a lot of complaints that they weren't doing a good job. Are we going to, I guess, monitor them to make sure that they are doing the job they're supposed to be doing?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have several inspectors that, when they have time, and last year was a little bit of a, I don't want to say odd year, but we were quite busy last year. We try to get them to go out, we give them a list of the streets that are currently being swept in a certain, we have several I think we have like 32, districts throughout the city that we call out, or the contractor calls out on what's being done at a specific time. And then, yeah, we address that with our contractor. They'll go back and re-sweep a street if we ask them to. We get calls from the residents. We do the same thing. Last year, we had issues with turmoil within the company. Hopefully that issue doesn't arise this year. But then again, maybe we'll have a different company this year. You know, we're very open to looking at who else is out there that wants to participate.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Davis?
Through you, Madam Chair, Mrs. McKillop, it won't help us if we don't enforce the parking on the street. It looks so bad when they do a street and you go around 3 or 4 cars on it. And so I don't know how we're going to do it. And I know that the police are busy, but somewhere we got to get it done where it'll make a statement. Because if you're going to go around, they put the signs out. Of course, if a rain or some wind blows, the sign comes off. I've seen it happen. So we're going to have to enforce the no parking. And it's not that long. You're talking about for a day, you know, and they come around and sweep and you don't have to worry about it. But let's please try to enforce the no parking ban when this is happening.
Agreed. Are there any other questions for Mrs. McKillop? Mr. Brunick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kathy, you know what I'm going to ask? The bid, or the referral says it's being bid in April.
Yes, please.
Got it.
Any other questions and/or comments? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the 2024 street sweeping program, and, pardon me, excuse me, and this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and to enter into a contract for said programs. Monies are appropriated in the 2024 budget in the amount of $220,000, $110,000 from wastewater, $110,000, from wastewater, and $110,000 from stormwater. Okay. Emergency clause requested. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
It was moved by Mr. Stewart and second by Mr. Armstrong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda, the matter of amendment number 4 for continuation of construction inspection services for the WWC plant. Mrs. McKillop.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. This item is a request to continue our agreement with CTI Engineers, and this would be our 4th amendment. The inspection services are performed at our wastewater treatment plant. We have Mr. Gary Lee, who's been the inspector on several of our plant projects that we have here, has a very has a lot of talent that pertains to our plant. He's learned a lot over this past, oh my gosh, almost 8 years now. And we want to continue to have him inspect our projects. Now, right now, he's in the middle of a project. I will be asking for this to be passed as an emergency. And we want to continue to have him close out that project. And then we have a project coming up, hopefully this fall, late summer, in fall. It's our Windward Siphon Gulf Road Pump Station project, which is right across the street from our treatment plant. And it's possible that we may have him look at that project as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. McKillop? If not, I'll read the committee report. Okay. We have considered the matter of professional service agreement with CTI Engineers for amendment number 4 for construction projects at the wastewater plant. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into said agreement in the amount of $176,380 for amendment number 4 of said project. Monies are appropriated in the 2024 budget. Emergency clause is requested. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Stewart. Are there any other questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the matter of going out for bids for the Elyria Public Safety Training Facility and being funded by the FBI. Engineer McKillop, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, we're requesting to advertise for bid the simulation building and the range building and other facilities there in the training facility. This spring, the plans are almost complete. We want to get this moving, this whole program moving, and get the FBI's money spent as soon as possible while we still have it. We have $2.7 million from the FBI. We're looking at $2.5 million as a cap for these facilities. Right now, we're pretty close to that number. We'll see when we actually advertise, you know, what the numbers come in at. And if we need to go back to the FBI, they will entertain the idea of possibly increased funding, but of course, at that point, we'll be back in front of council to discuss moving forward with the other funding or changes in the facility plans. But for now, we are going to advertise and bid out the buildings as we currently have them planned out. We're just waiting for detailed plans at this point.
Okay. I know there was a lot of talk about the noise coming from the gun range. Are the buffers going to be included in this project, or will that come later?
We will include some of the buffers in this phase. It really depends on where these buildings come in at,
Okay.
price-wise.
Okay.
It'll also depend how much dirt we'll be able to obtain, because we have options. We can put up a dirt mound for buffering. Police departments looked at special material to go over fencing. You know, this area will be a secured facility, so special material will go on the fencing that will help buffer the sound as well. If funding permits, we will get it in this time. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe at one of the council meetings, it was brought up that the city may be willing to put funds towards that, and if we get to that point, then I'll probably be back
Okay.
again.
Okay. And I really think it's important that we keep our word to the residents about the noise. So anything we can do to help alleviate or decrease some of the noise, I think is going to be really important. Mr. Bruni?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a long time we've been down this road with this facility. This, if I recall correctly, is a reimbursement agreement with the FBI. We're gonna have to have money appropriated when we go out for bid. Now, it will get reimbursed to us, but we still need to make sure that that's the case. I don't know if this needs to go to finance. I just wanna make sure, and Ted's not here, but I wanna make sure that we do this in the right way.
I think the agreement is, you're right, I think it is a reimbursement. The way we have it set up is, we get an invoice, we send this to FBI, they give us the money, and then we pay for it. But again, that's just how we're operating it. It doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's written in the agreement, so I'm gonna leave it
And
up
even if that's
to,
the case, sorry to interrupt, but even if that's the case, we still have to, when we sign these contracts with these, when we go out for bid, sign a contract with the winning bidder, we need to be able to say that we have money appropriated, whether it's in hand or not, or whether it's being paid by a third party. So we
That's
need to be,
fine.
okay,
yeah, we can make sure it's on the
To be-
agenda for Monday, and, yeah.
okay.
Are there any other questions for Engineer McKillop? Mr. Stewart?
So obviously, the plans have been approved by Planning Commission, I'm guessing, if we're going out for bid? Or are we still working, I know you made a comment about it still going through that process, a little bit more, some fine tweaks, but it's enough that this is going out for bid soon?
It'll be going out to bid soon. We've submitted plans, a site plan for design review. We got comments back, we're addressing those comments right now. If everything is fine with, I suppose, the way we're addressing the issues, then I believe at that point we'll be able to go out to bid with what we have.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Mrs. Davis?
Through you, Madam Chair, and like you said, this has been a minute, and so I'm trying to this is costing us nothing, is that correct? It's not costing the city anything.
I don't necessarily want to say that because it is costing us time,
Oh, okay.
you know, manpower.
But monetarily, I don't believe, whatever we spend, we're getting back from, the
Yeah.
FBI has given us $2.7 million.
So we need to stay in that budget.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yeah, I would say there was probably investing, you know, engineering costs over and there to review and everything like that. There is a cost over and through there with that, but, again, to Mr. Bruning's and Ms. Davis's point, it has been a minute. I thought the money was already in hand, but maybe I'm wrong. I guess if you're making that,
Again, I'm not the finance director. I'm just trying to recollect from, I want to say we've been in these talks with the FBI since 2019 or 2020.
It's been a while.
I mean, it's been a long time, and we finalized that agreement a couple of years ago at least. And I don't have it with me. I don't recall specifically what it was, but I seem to remember it being a reimbursement agreement. And what Kathy's saying rings true to me that, you know, even though we're calling it a reimbursement agreement, we really just hand in the invoices and they pay them. I was just saying from a municipal law perspective, we still have to say we have money appropriated, even if we don't actually spend it out of our own, you know, coffers, so to speak.
gotcha.
Thank you. Are there any other questions and or comments? Mrs. Davis?
Through you, Madam Chair, so is there a possibility we could get a refresher, paper on what's going on here? Since it's been, you're talking 5 years since we started this talk, can we see a contract now?
Or update or something?
Updated information.
Would it be all right if we, provide a report for Finance Committee and then we'll show what the current layout
Yes.
and, we have, building footprints,
Sounds
on what
great.
it will look like. Cool.
And I noticed that they're clearing out the woods back there as well, so something's definitely going on back there. So, any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the the Elyria Public Safety Training Facility, and this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for said facility, buildings, and appurtenances. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Stewart, second by Mr. Oswald. Are there any other questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item number 5, on the advice of our law department, is gonna go just to finance. It doesn't need to come to us. So we're gonna remove that from our agenda, and it will go to finance. So thank you, Engineer McKillop.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the matter of entering into a service contract with Strollo Architects for services for the design of the new central maintenance complex. Assistant Safety Director Strozak, good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Strozak. Mr. Armstrong,
Kenny.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna tell you your microphone's off.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I thought she left it on, my fault.
thank you. Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Madam Chair, I do have a few questions. I'll give you all the questions, and then you can go from there, okay, Mr. Strozak?
As long as I can remember all of them.
Okay, the first one is, how did you, and that's why I wasn't here in the conversation, how did you arrive at this company to do this? Did you get a referral from somebody that this company is
We
done?
we did a request for proposals. This was back in 2018, and then we continued with them in 19,
Oh.
then in COVID. So this is a company we have worked with before and they are very familiar with us in this project.
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, again, my next one is, there's a lot of things that what they're going to do in your agreement. I'm assuming this will all be, ADA compliant,
Yes.
okay, simple. Okay, who's going to be handling the bid process and then accepting the bid? Does somebody, with the city, do you have a task force that's handling this? And then who, does a bid come in and you approve it, or your committee, and then it comes to council? And then at the end, who does the follow-through, signing contracts and getting this process started? Who works with that?
Mr. Bruning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Oswald, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Strozak, at this point, this is just a professional services agreement for architectural design of the facility. We're not at the stage of actual construction or anything like that. At that point, we would advertise for bids and enter into a contract. This company was selected through an RFP for professional design services only. Is that correct?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, that is correct.
Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair. Okay, well, I guess when I was reading through what they're offering and what they're doing, it's still questionable on what we are getting for this contract that we're going to be entering into. So I guess that's why I was asking the questions, which I think, I don't know, this is just information that I guess I was going to want to know how it's handled, and I don't know at what point we'll find out who's handling all these.
What's in front of you, I apologize, Madam Chair, what's in front of you is approval to enter into a professional design services agreement. That does not obligate council or the city to go forward with any actual construction. This was just to obtain design proposals from the architect. You have no further obligation. If they give you something you don't like, or you decide you don't want to go forward for any other reason, you can put a stop to it right then. You don't have to go any further.
Okay.
We have stopped and started this process several times, so. Mrs. Davis, I saw your hand up.
Through you, Madam Chair, have we specifically narrowed down, what the building is gonna be used for? Specific, because that will include how they would design it. So have you put,
Yes,
specific vehicles that's gonna be in the building?
this building will be, the proposed site is across from 851 Garden Street, where we have our salt shed now on the almost 14 acres that we already own and is ready to go. So you will have all the departments that are across the street
Okay.
at the current complex be moving over. Our long-term plan is if this all goes like we would like it, then we can take the existing buildings there and use them for our cold storage and our out-of-season equipment, which we now pay the Lorraine Port Authority for rent. So we'll be able to get out of a lot of that stuff.
I don't wanna hear that. Thank you.
And all the new trucks and stuff that we're buying can finally be garaged.
Correct. We have literally millions of dollars of equipment sitting outside. And we have mechanics that work outside because we're out of space. The thing we all have to remember is the city has grown in the last 40 years, and that small complex has stayed the same.
I agree, it's needed. Are there any other questions for Mr. Strozak? Mr.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Strauss, just to confirm, so back in 18, we hired MS Consultants. And do you know what that amount was, for that initial, that was just the assessment study? That was nothing architectural?
Correct. They did come out and did some of the scheduling and programming they went through all the departments
Right.
to see what spaces they had, what the department heads thought they were going to need, and that's how they put together a footprint for a new building.
And then 2019, they came back for the new central maintenance garage. Looks like maybe January 17th, and maybe another modified version in March of 2019, maybe?
Correct.
So is MS Consultants working with Strollo? Or
No.
This is a whole new,
No, actually, Anissa Nieder, who was with MS at that time, went off on her own. MS had a kind of a breakup. So she went out on her own, and now she has teamed with Strollo Architects, and they are working combined on this.
they released the documents?
I'm sorry?
They released the documents for that when she left?
Yes, we do have them.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Great.
I just know that I know, obviously, there's been a lot of money invested up to date currently here, and this project is looking to be, is that understanding, $175,000?
Correct. And the normal, I will tell you, the normal fee for this, they said, is normally about $220,000. Because they have so much information on us already, they have given us a discounted price to $175,000.
That's awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Strozak? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a professional service agreement with Strollo Architects, and this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into said agreement for engineering and architectural services for the design of a new central maintenance complex. Emergency clause is requested. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Stewart. Are there any other questions and/or comments?
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Where the money coming from? Is this $175,000, where's it coming from?
Through you, Madam Chair. I've spoke with Finance Director Pileski, and back, it was prior to 2018, there was a line item in the sanitation fund set up as kind of a rainy day project for this. When I spoke with him, he said there is plenty of money in that line item, and that's where the money will come from. And if this does all go through, like my fingers are crossed, and he bonds this out, that money in that line item will be replaced through the bonds.
Thank you. Sorry. Somebody call for the question? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Strozat. The next item on our agenda is the matter of rescinding and replacing ordinance 2020-136, sewer calculation for account holders who receive water services from other sources and sewer services from Elyria. Hi, Mrs. Connors, go right ahead, please.
Good evening. Through you, Madam Chair. What we're asking for is, back in 2020, there was the ordinance written where rural water was supplying a lot of our Elyria residents water, and it was our sewer. It was determined at that time that we were going to have a calculation on how they were to get a credit for sewer for outside usage because there was no private meters. We're looking at now proposing to rescind that. Actually, the costs have gotten extremely high. In the 4 years that the Four Seasons development has gotten sewer credits, it's about $257,000. And then with all the new homes that are being built with rural water, they're Elyria residents, but they're not getting treated the same as all the other Elyria residents. So it doesn't matter if you've got water and sewer or sewer only. We believe that they should receive their credit by having a private meter installed.
So they would have to have this meter installed to get the credit. Did I hear that correctly?
Correct.
Mr. Jacobs, did you want to add anything?
For you, Madam Chair. What we would do is inform the home builder that for new construction, if the people wanted the sewer credit, they'd have to have a deduct meter put in.
Okay.
The existing customers that are getting this calculated sewer credit, we would give them, I think, 12 months we talked about to get a plumber and get a meter installed.
And that cost would be on the homeowner?
That cost would be on the homeowner. This is how the Elyria, the city of Elyria citizens do it. They get their own meter, get it installed, let us know both meters are read, and then Mrs. Connor's office calculates the credit based on what went in and what went through the sewer credit meter.
Mr. Brunet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Been a night of stretching my memory, I guess, but when we put this in, wasn't there an issue with rural water that from their policies, they refused to allow the second meter, private meter, or am I completely butchering that recollection? And has that changed, I guess? I mean, do they permit that? Because it's really their meters and their reads.
Their meter, their reads, which we actually pay them to give us the reads so we can build a sewer.
Right.
If we get a deduct meter put in, they could read the meter and give us both meter reads, or through our new meter equipment, we could read the meters.
I guess that's my question, though, is will they permit that? Do they have some kind of policy or regulation that prohibits it? Because I feel like that was the problem last time. I could be wrong about that entirely. That was 4 years ago.
Well, I don't believe that all of their meters are in pits. So all of these would be installed in the home. If they don't want to sell the meter to their customer, I think we can, because we have 19 homes that already have deduct meters in them that kind of must have trickled in way before this ordinance.
Okay.
So, and we read those fine. So, yeah.
If I can just, take, Debbie's point there. If we were to sell these residents our meters, then they would be ours. Rural Water wouldn't have anything to say about it because it would be our meter in their home. And we would read the meters and then calculate the deductions. And that would really be the cleanest way to proceed with, this.
So we would no longer have to pay rural water for any,
So, through you, Madam Chair, we would still have to pay rural water for their read.
understood.
So we know what to bill the sewer on.
Okay, got it.
But then our deduct meter, Debbie would do what she does in the office, and they'll get the credit on that meter.
Thank you. Mr. Oswald, I saw your hand up.
Through you, Madam Chair, so that would be like in Elyria, if we wanted to water and wash a car, we could have a separate meter for just water. Okay, so now I understand that. Approximate cost to the homeowners when they do have to have one of these put in, you know, it used to be $500. I mean, do you have a clue what the cost will be for the homeowner when they have to put one of those in?
The meter, through you, Madam Chair, the meter plus the MIU box that goes on the outside of the house probably is about a little under $400 for the whole package, and then the cost to use the plumber to install it.
So that, through you, Madam Chair, so that's just your own plumber that you get to do that at that point? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Stewart?
Through you, Madam Chair, and Mr. Oswald asked the same question as he did. As far as if there was this past this committee and then ultimately with council, when are you looking to expect to roll this out? What is, you know, to notify more specifically Four Seasons individuals?
I would hope the sooner the better. The first reads that it's based on is June reads.
Right.
So that would be from May through June. So it's going to be coming up pretty soon.
So what would be the notification process then, to notify them that this is coming?
What we did in the past was send all the residents a letter telling them, you know, when the ordinance passed the first time, they all got a letter. It said what the ordinance explained outward, and I would think we could do the same thing.
And give them, through you, Madam Chair, we would give them the time frame, like you have from June 1st this year to June 1st, 2025, to install a deduct meter, or after June 1st, the sewer credit will disappear.
Mrs. Davis?
Through you, Madam Chair. So can I install this myself, or we have to have one of the technicians from the city come in and install this?
Through you, Madam Chair, what normally happens is you purchase a meter from us, and then you have a plumber come and put it in. Our service worker will come and make sure it's put in properly and lead the line to the outside box.
But we would not put the meters in.
Yeah. Okay. You have to have a
The city
plumber.
staff would not do that.
They would have to get their own plumbing.
There's a lot of liability to cut into people's plumbing and do that. We won't do that.
Understood.
Through you, Madam Chair, how many homes are we talking about, Ms. Connor and Mr. Jacobs?
Right, excuse me, through you, Madam Chair, It's, right now, we're getting billed for 641 accounts from rural water. And that doesn't include the new homes going in. So, you know, it just keeps growing. Four Seasons is totally developed now. I believe they have 229, I think 229, 230. So that's a more mature area. But River Run and Harvest Meadows is just growing with leaps and bounds.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all. Are there any other questions or anything? Okay, I'm going to read the committee report. We have considered the matter of rescinding and replacing ordinance. We have considered the matter of rescinding and replacing ordinance 2020-136. And this is legislation to rescind ordinance 39, is that codified ordinance? Yeah. To rescind codified ordinance 937.20, alternate consumption calculation for sanitary sewer account holders served by a water system other than Elyria, replacing with new stating they must have a second meter installed to be eligible for sewer credit. Great. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Do we want an emergency clause on this to get those notices out as soon as possible?
Thank you. Emergency clause is requested. I heard Mrs. Davis make the motion, Mr. Armstrong second. All those in favor?
I have another question,
Yes,
just
sir.
another question to, Mr. Jacobs or Ms. Connor. Is the funds for the meter in itself, when they come to purchase the meter, does that money upfront money, or is that can that go on their bill, water bill, or what is the process there? You can? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No other questions?
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. One last thing. Mr. Safety Service Director Pianowski, that sound is driving me crazy. The rattling? Yes, okay. Can we fix that? Yes, sir.
I will get the maintenance folks to, look into that. It sounds like it's coming up from maybe that direction.
It sounds like it's coming from over here, but it's very annoying.
Okay.
Yeah, it did last year as well, so.
I don't know if I can do anything about that. I'll follow up with you after the meeting, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Pianowski. There is no further business to come before this committee. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Good night, everyone.
I didn't hear what you asked.
We weren't allowed to do that, have a second meter, and then